Hey guys, in this installment we are going to be restoring this lovely, pretty pink Predicta Debutante model. No, they did not come in this color or with this grill cloth. Custom paint job, custom grill cloth. And it's going to be a really interesting project. Hope you enjoy it. Some projects just aren't that eventful. Actually, this was somewhat eventful, but we saw the interesting stuff, I think, or some of the interesting stuff at least, in the initial triage video. Yeah, this is the Debutante that had the head unit that was all falling apart because the screws weren't in place, and it had a crude recap job done. Well, flash forward a couple days. I am just about done repopulating this board. It should go in like this. And I've finished repopulating the IF board and reattached it. I rebuilt the power supply. I'm getting ready to reinstall this main board. One thing holding me up is that I'm missing a couple parts. I ran out of these. So I popped the CRT head off of the set, and I have a signal source hooked up. I pulled out the tuner. I already powered it up without the fusible resistor in place. All the tube filaments lit up. So let's give this a try. Hey, I think that's the first time I've ever seen an original, or at least the existing dial lamp actually light up. Hey. I don't think the channel knob is on there right though, because I have my signal source I think on channel 3, not on 9 or 10. Alright, so the tuner's working, the IF is working, the sound is working, but I don't see anything on the CRT. This is brightness.
You've now put her in jeopardy for her credit.
We have nothing. I kind of don't sense any high voltage either. You can usually kind of feel or sense when the flyback kicks in, and I'm not getting that. I'll grab a high voltage probe and verify. So, it could be a few things. Horizontal oscillator might not be running, in which case the horizontal amplitude might start red plating. Or some damper tube, or of course a wiring mistake, or flyback having an issue. Yeah, we're not getting anything. Huh, there is something on the plate cap of this, though. One simple check I can do is check the resistance. Turn the set off, pop off these two caps, and that will give me the resistance between, around this big high voltage winding, which should be... Yeah, I'm not getting anything. Just by me getting this probe close to this, if we had high voltage, I'd be getting an arc, crackle, something. So I go to the plate cap of the horizontal output tube. We had a little something there, a few hundred volts. The only thing I can do is I can turn the set off, and pop off these two caps, and check the resistance. That will give me the resistance of the secondary high voltage winding there, that big donut. Trying to find it on the schematic here. Now here we go, 400 ohms. Between that and that. And I can check all the rest of these as well. The rest are just going to be a few ohms. I'll have to disconnect the horizontal yoke to check that, because that goes in parallel with this. Remember, the flyback does two things. It's the output transformer for the horizontal windings on the yoke, and it generates the high voltage. Well, very quickly I found a problem. I started out with the C6DQ6, went through the chucks, got to the pin 4 chuck, and it said to put your ohm meter not from the chassis to the pin, but from the 275 volt supply rail, which is the main power for the set. So put one clip on that, and they say we should, 6DQ6 pin 4, we should have 11 kilo ohms. And what do we actually have? 1, 2, 3, 4. We have over 225, 250, and climbing kilo ohms. Over 300 kilo ohms now. Or sorry, mega ohms. Now we're at over 2 mega ohms. So clearly something's very wrong. Okay, so what does pin 4 connect to? Well, pin 4, that is the screen, I believe, goes down and around and around, and that actually goes to the wiper on the width control. Yeah, so the width control goes through a resistor and goes up through his 390, the 260 rail. It goes to the main 275 volt bus on the other side of that, 5.6K. Alright, so this value will actually vary depending on the setting of the width control. So what's wrong? We could have an open width control. Or let's check that resistor, make sure it's in place, and see what's on both sides of it. Well, actually I already did that. And that 5.6K resistor is right down here. And right next to it is a stake that says 275. There should be 2 wires going to it. I only have one. One of them goes to vertical output transformer. The other one's supposed to go over to the terminal strip exactly where I have my alligator clip. When I took out the filter cap here and relocated it to the terminal strip, I forgot to run a new wire from this point all the way around over there. So in other words, there's a bunch of circuits that are not getting power, including the horizontal circuit. So let's install that wire, and it may fix all our problems. I'll use some new 600 volt rated wire. Just going to rough it in, cut it to length. So go to that stake, go around the corner, go there, turn, terminal strip. That should be enough. And now we get to use a wire wrap tool to wrap the wire on a stake. It's so much nicer to do it with a new piece of wire than an old one. Ooh, I saw a vertical line briefly on the CRT face. So this is brightness, I think. Yeah. You guys maybe can't even see that. Occasionally, as I'm rotating the brightness control, I get a streak on the screen. Okay, so we still have problems, but hey, now we can try our fluorescent bulb test. Oh yeah, check that out. It's very cool. So there you go. The closer you get. Poor man's high voltage meter. Alright, so looks like we have no vertical deflection, and the video keeps cutting in and out. So now I will do the same resistance check on the vertical output tube, which is this guy over here. Oh well, now this is just downright embarrassing. Once again, I think every problem I've had with these Predicta sets has been a mistake that I made. Gee, I forgot to connect the vertical hold control. Should go down right there. I think that'll help improve the vertical situation. Hey, what do you know about that? Problem solved. So, hey, that took all of about an hour to track down all those problems. It's just a simple, methodical approach. Do the resistance chart. Make sure your tubes are good. Make sure you didn't make any mistakes. But I mean, seriously, using the resistance chart helped me track down problems very quickly. And swapping tubes, testing tubes, putting in new old stock, that's always a sound approach. I'd use the tubes that came with the set. And obviously some of them are weak. I'm going to go back through now and actually test them. If I'm curious, I always hear this adage that the only real test is in an actual device with the proper operating conditions, which I agree with. I mean, absolutely that's true, because the tester does not put the same type of voltage and biasing on the tube as the set does. But I am curious, can my tester actually weed out any of those tubes as being problematic? Alright, so now I get to go through all the procedures. Obviously we don't have enough height, the linearity is a little messed up. Picture's not quite as sharp as it could be. But I think we're in the home stretch. That was a quick one. Now that the set is working electrically, I'm turning my attention to the cosmetic. In particular, the owner asked me to repaint the cabinet. Now you may be thinking it's sacrilege, but hey, I get it. It's beige. It's not the most attractive color, but unfortunately it's the most common color with these Predictas. I myself have several rusty beige examples that I intend to paint. They're just not, well, they're boring. They're also not rare, so it's not like it's some one-of-a-kind museum item. He selected this Krylon Fusion Pink, kind of a classic 50s color. This is good paint. I've used it before. Paint and primer all in one. I've already taken off the grill trim front piece here. I just need to remove this collar. I'll mask off the feet. They don't come off very readily. And while going over this, I realized this has been repainted. They did a very good job with the color match, but there are some obvious telltales. They painted over the tube chart. They got some paint on the feet. They painted over a retaining clip that would hold cables out of place. And although the color is darn near perfect, this surface is rough compared to the bottom, which apparently they didn't repaint. This has some pretty bad orange peel. It's very fine, but the entire surface is very rough, like sandpaper. So how does that happen? They probably sprayed on a really hot day, or they were too far away. So what happens is the little droplets of paint come out and they hit the surface. They're supposed to flow out and melt together, and ideally make a very flat surface. Little tough to achieve with a rattle can. A professional spraying rig produces finer spray droplets, and then temperature, humidity, how close you are, how fast you move the can, all play into it. That's why they recommend you do multiple passes, and that's why I'm going to do a couple rounds as well and try to do as good a job as I can. Alright, so I need to remove this collar. Then I'm going to lightly sand the whole thing with about 600 grit, go over with the tack cloth to remove any dust, and bring it outside and start painting. Here it is after the first pass. After sitting in the garage for a few hours, I brought it down, put it in the laundry area. I figured out it was a safe place to keep it away from being disturbed while the paint sets up, which is taking a little longer than I expected. I've used this Krylon before, and this says dries to touch in 10 minutes or less. I used this on a Philco radio a while ago. This is slightly different. That was Krylon Color Max. This is Krylon Fusion All-in-One 5x Stronger Adhesion. This, I believe, says dries to touch in 20 minutes, handle in an hour. It's been about 5 hours, and this is still slightly tacky. So, I'm hoping the trade-off with the longer dry time is that, as it says, 5 times stronger adhesion, is that in the end it'll be a stronger surface. And that's generally the way it goes with enamel paints. The oil-based paints is the longer they take to cure, the better it is in the end. So I'll probably let this sit for 2 days. Not a lot of orange peel, but a little bit rougher than I would have liked. I think it's just a matter of I haven't gotten a good touch for how to apply it. I think I was moving the can too quickly, maybe a little bit too far away, and I was kind of dusting it more than getting on a thick coat because I was paranoid about getting runs. But it does say no runs, no drips, no errors, so maybe I should be more aggressive with it. I took an entire can to completely coat over and obscure all the beige and all the blemishes. I gave a light dusting on the inside just to give it a pinkish color, but I didn't want to waste a lot of paint on an area that would never be seen. But I did do the bottom, and around everywhere I especially focused on these edges here. I did the sides a bit. The top is the area that needs the most recoating. It's also the most visible. But I wanted to do the bottom first because I'm not going to go over that again. I just, I don't want to spend time again on a surface that's really never going to be seen. Did pretty good in terms of no bugs landed on it and no debris fell into it. So not much cleanup in that regard. But as I say, it's a little bit rougher than I would like. So I'll go over it with 800 or 1000 grit in a couple days, and then hopefully spray on what will be the final coats. It's been a few days since I did the second coat. The paint is completely cured. I'm happy with it. Good coverage, no drips, no runs. It's smooth. So time to start putting it back together. And one thing I'm not happy with, and neither is the owner, is that the grill cloth is damaged. So we discussed options. One would be put new grill cloth on. I don't know of any source that matches the original. There's some stuff that's but that also is a bit of work, taking the trim off, removing this, putting on new grill cloth, getting the lines to be perfectly straight. I'm not that good at grill cloth. Alright, moving on to grill cloth now. The owner selected this lovely blue color. We chatted a bit about various options and thought this would be a bold but good look. I'll include a link where he got it from. I believe this is intended for guitar amps. It's a woven plastic material, so it's pretty rigid. I'm used to working with grill cloth for antique radios, more like what's on here originally, that's very floppy. And often you need to iron it, maybe spray starch, and it can be a real headache to get it lined up right. This being rigid, I think won't be quite so bad. But even so, I've been playing around with it a little bit, and I can see it's not quite perfect. So we have obviously vertical blue lines here, but there's also a horizontal element to it. If I line this up so that the horizontal is right across, look at the line on the blue vertical line. It's like this. So, I see. I think that part of that, or maybe all of it, is because this is not. This is bent in a little bit, I think. Yeah, it's more straight on this side. So my plan is to cut an oversized piece, tack it down to a board, and make sure, get out a right-angled measuring device and make sure that everything is square and straight and good to go. and then use some of this Super 77 spray adhesive, spray the board, maybe spray a little on the cloth too, and then it says if you're going to use a two-surface technique to allow 30 seconds for some of the solvent, I think it's acetone, to evaporate, so the surface gets tacky, and it'll be like contact cement. And just press this down firmly. It sets up in a few minutes. I've never actually used this before, but I know a lot of other guys do, and that seems to be a good universal adhesive product to use for this type of application. So we'll give it a try. First thing I need to do is remove everything from this, the trim, the speaker, and all traces of the old grill cloth. And we'll give it a try. I should probably do a little test piece first. I'll cut a section out of this and grab a hunk of masonite and just give it a try to get a feel for this. You can see how excited Jupiter is about the whole process. It actually wasn't too bad to lay out. The stuff, being plastic, does pretty much stay in place. Main thing was just to get it unrolled and flat because it had been rolled up tightly in the shipping container. So now I'm going to spray the adhesive. Again, it sprays just like paint. A couple quick passes seems to be sufficient. Let it sit for maybe like a little bit more, like 45 seconds, and then carefully press the two together. Of course, don't be near anything you care about because stuff is very sticky. It's very hard to see where you've sprayed because it is clear. That's plenty on that. Now let's get this guy. Now, the original was wrapped around the sides, so I'll have to deal with that after the fact somehow. That should be plenty. Wait a little bit and press them together. That'll do. Let's see. Still pretty sticky. I'll wait. And here is the final product. After weighing it down, letting it sit for about an hour, I then trimmed off the edges to about an inch all around and used some contact cement and clamps to wrap this all around, and then I reattached the hardware. So all that's left is to reinstall the speaker, and then I can put it back in the cabinet, which is sitting right over there. And put the chassis back in, wire everything back up, and make sure it still works. Here it is, all back together. Very happy with the way this set turned out. It's playing one of the best Predictas I've ever restored. Very bright picture tube. Paint job, I think, turned out great. As with the grill cloth, I've shown the owner some photos. He's very happy with it as well. So that is going to be a wrap. I thank you for watching and hope you enjoyed the journey.
Without worrying where you are or if it's too late. Do not take with strong S2E05 inhibitors.